Hi, I'm Ryan Bridge, and I'm excited to host a new podcast called Bridge Talks Business with Milford, where I'll be talking about, well, business, obviously. Every week, I'll be joined by one of Milford's team of analysts, fund managers, and financial experts to cover key business events. It'll be your go-to for insights on the markets, business, and the economy, both here and overseas, as we dig a little deeper into the business week. Join me for Bridge Talks Business with Milford. Subscribe on iHeart or wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss an episode. All discussions are informational only and should not be considered financial advice.
You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Two Yachting New Zealand sanctioned crews are set to contest the Offshore Double-Handed World Championship in France later in the month. 22 mixed gender crews from 16 countries will chase global glory on identical craft. One of the two crews from New Zealand consists of Andrew Hall and Sandra Bees, representing Auckland's Richmond Yacht Club. Andrew and Sandra are both with us now on Weekend Sport. Andrew, tell us about the challenge that awaits you over the next couple of weeks or so.
I think we've got a pretty reasonable sort of challenge. We've got a fleet that is very well established, very good sailors out there, and we just got to get in there and give it a good old Kiwi nudge, and get on with the job.
That's the spirit. Now, let's go into the nuts and bolts of what you'll be doing. Sandy, as I read it here, you'll be in one of two 11-boat fields sailing a 12-hour overnight race. The top five in each go through to a 48-hour final. Now, that sounds hard to me. How challenging is it?
It's going to be pretty challenging, I have to admit. We start the race at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so we'll have about 3.5 hours of daylight, and then the rest of it will be night. So we're in a boat we don't really know, in waters we don't really know, and in the dark. So add all those things together, and it'll be, it'll be fairly challenging.
I bet.
It's challenging at the best of times.
Indeed. Well, tell us about the boats, Andrew. They're identical. Are they supplied to you? How does that work?
Yes, pardon the pun, but everyone's in the same boat. We're all leasing the boats for the regatta, and it's very, very tight. We're not allowed to take a lot of extra gear. I think we've got one extra sheet that we use, which is a rope. We're allowed one extra snatch block, and we all have to take our own navigation gear, and that's really it. And we're in.
Sandy, I understand that you didn't have one of these boats to train on back here in New Zealand. So how have you gone about preparing?
Well, actually, we've had some fantastic support from the Richmond Yacht Club members. If I can give them a bit of a shout out, we've got Andrew Benton, who lent us Indus and helped us train. We've got Richard Limbrick, who helped us train on Cool Change, his boat, and Tony McElroy, which was on Monotone, and he also did the same. Richard and Tony did a lot of coaching and spent a lot of hours with me.
And when you get there, Andrew, will you have more training time? Will you get to train on the boat that you'll be using during racing?
Yeah, we've leased an extra 3 days of practice or training time that we'll get in there, and they'll be fairly solid days for us out on the water. Maybe some nights as well.
What are the specific challenges, Andrew? I'll stay with you of sailing a boat of this type.
Well, I guess the big challenge for us is that we haven't sailed one before. Sailing is sailing, but every boat has its little idiosyncrasy. So, in those 3 days that we're up there, we're going to be really trying to get to know the boats. Some of this particular boat was launched last November, and some of the sailors that we're going to be sailing against have been sailing them since that time.
But not you guys. So this is going to be, I wouldn't say a baptism of fire, Sandra, necessarily, but do you feel as though you're in contention to progress through to the final, for example?
I have to say yes, otherwise what are we going for?
True, yes, true.
I think we've prepared enough. I did actually forget to mention Alan Geddes. He's also lent us his boat, Shy Ray, so we've had quite a bit of support, and we've done as much as we can. And hopefully we'll get to know the idiosyncrasies of the boat up there in the 3 days that we have for training.
Funnily enough, Heidi, we were just having this conversation last night, And for the time that we've had since we were endorsed by Yachting New Zealand, I think we've done the most that we could possibly do. Maybe a few things that we might change in our training, but we've really given it a solid push for the last 3 months.
That's the way. Sandra, you're an experienced sailor, but as I understand it, this has been a bit more of a crash course for you. Is that right?
Very much so. Whilst I've been sailing for a while, I've not been doing a lot of double-handed or two-handed sailing, and not really in that two-handed racing, which is the worlds are a level up. Like a lot of the sailing that I do, it's nice to win or nice to be in the top placings, but it's more casual and a bit more fun. This is definitely a level up.
Just so we're across the terminology and our listeners are clear here, that when you say two-handed, that basically means just the two of you on the boat rather than a bigger crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think, so that the listeners understand, on fully crewed boats, most of the crew just do one job, whereas we have to do it all. And in fact, getting through to the final, the qualifying or the elimination race, we end up, it's going to be like a two-handed race. The final is a longer race. It's a 48-hour race, and it becomes like a solo tag team when you're sailing. So basically, a lot of the time you're sailing the boat by yourself.
Yeah, I was going to say 48 hours, yeah. So you just take turns and the other one tries to get a bit of sleep. Is that how it works?
You've got to have a kip at some stage.
Indeed.
Even the 12-hour race is looking like it's going to be about an 18, 19-hour race, because they're going to start us. It's 100 nautical miles, so it's likely to be a lot longer than 12 hours.
It just seems like such a brilliant challenge, as you say, and the way you've outlined it there. But the two of you together for sometimes and by yourselves for others have to basically sail the thing by yourselves. That's how it works.
Pretty much, yeah.
Got to be pretty disciplined in what you're doing. Indeed. When you're out there.
Understand you're also using this campaign to launch Sail IQ Racing. Andrew, tell us about that.
Yep, it's been a dream of mine for a while, but we put the team together. Started to think about it and put the team together a little while ago. We've been focusing on a canting keel 38-footer that we can use in a lot of international offshore racing. That's in build at the moment, and we're just working our way through to some other sailing after this as well.
Yeah, what is beyond this? Have you got your sights set on similar races in the future, or maybe slightly different ones? I saw the Sydney Hobart perhaps mentioned as an ambition, a lifelong ambition for you.
I've had a crack at it with an Australian crew, and we didn't finish. So yes, that's on my bucket list to tick off. Also on the bucket list is to do the. I've been a solo sailor for a number of years, and to do the solo Trans-Tasman. I'd really like to do that.
Amazing. Sandra, is it true that the two of you met on a boat?
Yes, very much so.
You've got to tell us that story.
It was 6.5 years ago now, and a friend of mine, another Andrew, he had a beautiful boat called Margaritaville, and he caught up with me and said, "Why don't you come out for a bit of sailing?" And I thought, "Oh, that sounds lovely." It's sort of like I had visions of swanning around with Chardonnays and enjoying myself. Didn't quite work out that way. The racing side of it's a little bit more physical than I expected. But one of the evenings, this Andrew came on the boat, and I thought he was on the main sheet, and he was pretty clever, and I was amazed at how well he could read the wind, and I thought he had some sort of special powers, and he had very nice eyes. He still has nice eyes. So I think then he jumped off the boat. So I thought, oh, well, that was a quick introduction and a goodbye. And then a couple of weeks later, he was back on the boat. And then after that, we had a drink after the race, and then that was it. Really, we've sort of been together ever since.
I love that. What a great story. I love that. See, I don't know whether my marriage would survive the type of thing that you guys are about to embark on. What is the on-water relationship like? Does it ever get tested, or are you just well aware of what you both need to do inside this sailing relationship and your relationship in general?
Hey, Piney, we'll tell you when we get back.
It'll be a good test for you both. That'd be great.
It's fair to say that there is a bit of yelling at times and there's a bit of backwards and forwards, but mostly once we walk off the boat, it stays on the boat.
Yeah, in fact, we were doing a training session out around the Hauraki Gulf at night. We had some guys ghosting us around in another boat, and we must have thought around one of the turning points around one of the islands, they must have thought we were going to kill each other. But so we can be a little bit passionate from time to time about what's going on the boat.
Amazing. Well, I know it's all coming from a good place, and look, we just can't wait to see how you go over there. Very exciting for you, and the start of what hopefully for Sail IQ Racing will be a long and illustrious future. Andrew, Sandra, a delight to talk to you both. All the best. We can't wait to see how it goes for you.
Thanks, Piney.
Thanks a lot.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.